Welcome to SolFul Connections, where we skip the small talk and head right into the soul talk. I'm Amanda Solar, and each week we share the kinds of stories that remind us we're not alone. It's about being human, raw and unfiltered, just real talk. Let's connect.
Connection. Let's talk about connection.
I am lucky enough today to have with me Manizha Wafeq on the Soulful Connections podcast. And Manizha, if your ears have been burning, it's because ever since I heard you speak at a webinar I attended and met with you via Zoom, I have been talking about you behind your back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You are really such a rarity, such a rare person in the world. And what you've done and continue to do, it thrills me. So just one of the interesting facts about you is that you come from Afghanistan. You started the first women's chamber of commerce in Afghanistan. Your work has been, extraordinary. But before we dive in, I'm just wondering, you've had a really busy weekend, a really busy October. What recently has really made you smile?
What has recently made me smile? When, as you said, October was a very busy month for me, and I traveled to several countries for several events with Afghan, especially Afghan diaspora, Afghans who are now resettled in many countries around the world. I one of the trips that I made this month was to Geneva to be part of an Afghan diaspora conference hosted by a Danish organization in Geneva. There I met a lot of my Afghan fellows who are, as I said, now resettled in all these various European, US, and Canada. They all work in various sectors for Afghans either inside the country or Afghans who are resettled in their new homes. And we made this beautiful art piece, and that artwork is also is a nonprofit work run by one of the Afghans living in Virginia, and it beautifully depicted the diversity. And once that art piece came all together, because all of us painted in that art piece and had our brush strokes in it, once it all came together, that made me smile too, when I looked at it and how diversity looked beautiful. And so we all also had to write in that some message in that art piece. My message was that diversity is beautiful.
So when you were talking about diversity at this conference, like in what context? Was it a group of people from Afghanistan and the Afghani people and the diversity of the people in that room?
Yes, Afghanistan is a diverse country.
That's so interesting.
The country is made up of various tribes and ethnic groups, languages. In terms of religion, yes, it's Islam mostly, but we also have Sikhs and some Christians and Jews as well. So yes, religious-wise as well, diverse, but within Islam as well, there are diverse schools of thoughts. So with that, it's always beautiful to see all of us together from various parts of the country with various backgrounds and even various face features, because all of us, we don't look the same. We look so much different, though from the same country, from one land, but we look so different sometimes. And so when you put it all together, it becomes so beautiful.
That is really beautiful and powerful. And also, I appreciate that you indulge my ignorance because I don't know very much about Afghanistan. And that's why I asked that question, because I don't know what the people look and act like. And it doesn't fill me with comfort that I don't know, but I really appreciate you sharing that so that I can learn.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
So one of the things I mentioned in introducing you is that you worked to build the first women's chamber of commerce for business and industry in Afghanistan. Can you kind of share how that came to be and what that involved?
Sure. I participated in a program in the US in 2007, almost 20 years ago. And that was my first trip to the US for 6 weeks. I came to learn entrepreneurship, business planning, but didn't know that the program entailed a lot of educational aspects to advocacy, leadership, and how, as a business owner, it's important to be involved in policy making in a country in order to make sure that the policies and laws and regulations that are made in that country are benefiting the business sector. And especially if we're talking about this group of business owners who are women who have their own special concerns and interests that needed to be reflected in those policies and programs. So that education and learning a lot of experiences of especially American women establishing various entities and doing great policy advocacy work here in the US. When I went back to Afghanistan, and after a few years of the program that continued and graduated more women business owners, we established an alumni association of our program. And our program called Peace Through Business. And this was the webinar that you attended, Amanda, and this is how we got to know each other, Peace Through Business. And after the Alumni Association of Peace Through Business that was established, because I wanted to do bigger work, as you saw, that led to Women's Chamber of Commerce, we got together with other prominent businesswomen. I talked to them and I encouraged them to get more involved in policy advocacy for women-owned businesses in the country. And so together with them, we then established an organization. We named it at that time Women Leading Entrepreneurs for Afghanistan. And we were thinking to name it a Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry, but the law did not allow us. And we had to go through a lot of layers of, as you know, bureaucracy to get to the president of the country because it was a law that needed to change. So that took us like really from 2009 when we established our alumni association all the way to 2013 when we established our Leading Entrepreneurs for Afghanistan's Development, LEAD, all the way to 2017 when we changed LEAD's name into a Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry, when we made our way to the president of the country, through the first lady at that time, and I went to the High Economic Council, chaired by the president, and made a presentation on our organization first that we had already established, and it was there serving women-owned businesses. But then, more importantly, that why we needed to change our name from LEAD to a Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and that why we had to come all the way to the highest level, that the law needed to be changed. And so my request in my presentation was from the president and the High Economic Council was first to order the law to be changed, because the law was only allowing one chamber in the country. And second, for us to get that name, a Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And third, to give us a seat at the High Economic Council. because we were to be the representative of the women-owned businesses in the country. And so all of it happened. After my presentation, the High Economic Council, chaired by the president, they made a decision that the law needed to be changed for the country to have multiple chambers. Then a seat for us to sit in the High Economic Council meetings, for us to adopt that name, Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So it was 2009 all the way to 2017. And as you see, it takes that vision and long-term commitment to realize that vision, Amanda. And it was not an easy trip to get there.
So I'm thinking, who even are you, Manizha? Because to have that determination, vision, confidence, the fortitude in an environment that from where I'm sitting, where I was sitting during those years, looked like it would be not only hard, but scary. Were you scared?
No, I wasn't scared because those were the very good years of our country. After 2002, when after actually 9/11, when the United States decided to together with the international community to go after the international terrorists and at that time Taliban, who were supporting and ruling the country, to defeat them and liberate the country from those terrorist rulers. We started to have the best time, 2002 to 2021, when the international community was there and all of us came from various countries. We were in Pakistan because of our education, because of my education, my sister's education. My both parents are doctors, and they wanted us to be educated. So when Taliban took over in 1995, that was the only time when my parents decided to leave the country. I mean, even during the Civil War, we didn't leave, and during the Soviets invasion and all. But only during the Taliban years, because my parents were concerned about our education. So we went to Pakistan. But then immediately, once the Taliban were defeated and the international community entered our country, we returned from Pakistan. And all of us came back with, as I said, a lot of hope, a lot of dreams, and commitment as well, because we had experienced living outside and how it felt to be in a different country where you're not allowed to dream for your future. You're not allowed to have hope, and you're limited to certain level of education. You're limited to certain professions, and you're limited to certain even living standards and where and how to live. So for us to get back to our own country, our own land, and to have all the opportunity to work not only for ourselves but for our next generations, it was a different feeling, Amanda. And that was what, as you said, how did I do it? That was what was helping me go on every
That was your
morning.
fuel.
That was my fuel. That's right. And so so those years, we had a lot of challenges, definitely, as every society has.
Right.
It has always been a patriarchal and traditional society. All those years of the Taliban and Mujahideen years, the Civil War and all, had made the country very religious as well. So you can imagine we had to really fight and enlighten minds and prove that for women and girls to come out and work in various professions is okay, and it's even beneficial for the society,
Right.
and it's not going to harm anyone. And in fact, as I said, it's going to benefit everyone, families and societies and communities. So really, so there was no fear, but more of determination and in working with our people, no matter who they were, religious scholars or civil society actors or government officials or businessmen and other civil society leaders, media, everyone. There was no fear, but as I said, determination to convince them and work with them and together and along with each other build that country.
You're reminding me, by the way, of the importance of collaboration when you talk about that. That's such an important message as well.
That is,
Being
yes.
able to work with a vast array of, different people, different perceptions, and yeah, that's important.
Yes. Collaboration, definitely. I mean, for women anywhere, including in the US, for all of us, in order to successfully achieve our target in terms of our participation, our agency, our presence everywhere, we have to collaborate with all groups, regardless of how we think about them. So
Yeah.
we have to create those allies and
Yeah.
those collaborations.
So that determination and that confidence that it took, it makes me wonder about you as a little girl. Was that always there? Was that something you cultivated? What was your childhood like? Were you able to dream of what you were going to be when you grew up? Were you able to play, all of the games of childhood? Like, what was that like? Can you share that?
Yes. First, because I was born in this family where both my parents, as I said, were doctors, and economically we were doing well. And my father, both my parents, but especially my father, is this extraordinary human being who believes in other human beings, regardless of their sex. And he had always made sure that his daughters, there are five of us, that his daughters have the world's opportunities and that we have all the possibilities to realize our potentials. And he did not only do that by saying it, but in his actions. He trusted us. He provided us, as I said, that kind of environment in the family, and as well as outside. I mean, he said, don't care about anyone. And he would take us to places where there were very men places, and you wouldn't imagine that an Afghan father would take his daughters to do those kind of work, like going and renting a truck and workers to come and help with the moving your house. I mean, even in Pakistan, he did all those kind of things. So part of my childhood was I was born in Kabul, but then we moved because of both my parents being military doctors. We were moved to the west of Afghanistan, Herat province, Shindand district, where there was a military base. We were moved there when I was 1.5 years old. Unfortunately, those years were the years of Soviet invasion, and as well as the fight of the Mujahideen, Holy Warriors, against the Soviets. So I had experiences of bombarding of the military base where we were living. I had experience of 2 times moving on emergency basis from where we were living in that military base to Herat city. I mean, experiences that you wouldn't imagine for a child who doesn't understand what's going on to experience it. But I did, and same my sisters, and as well as a lot of other children that I knew and living in that area. But then part of my childhood, when I was 9, we left to Pakistan when Taliban took over. Then in Pakistan, we were privileged that both my parents got the job as doctors, because there was this hospital that supported refugees and was funded by the Saudis. And we were also able to go to school for refugees. And other than that, as you asked, in terms of hoping and dreaming of what we want to become, that was limited. Yes, I did dream at one point. I realized when I was 12 and we were still in Pakistan, I realized that I had this passion for numbers and economic issues. And so I told my parents that I wanted to study economics and I wanted to become a business owner back then. And they were like, okay, great. But I didn't have any hope that I would do it someday. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
if we had to continue living there and if our country was not liberated from the Taliban at that time and the international terrorists that were ruling the country. So yeah, that was the experience. But as soon as in my teens, when the Taliban were defeated and were out of the country and we had the opportunity to return, that was then a time when I felt a light ignited in me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could see the possibility. So then you were there, you built this Chamber of Commerce, and then what brought you to the US? What brought you to be, because you're living in the US now?
Yes. Yes. So to the US, professionally, as I said, it started in 2007 when I came the first time to attend a 6-week long entrepreneurship program.
Right.
And then after that, because of some other work that I was also doing in country, I continued traveling to the US for conferences and workshops and meetings. And it was 2014 when I had already worked for more than 2 years with USAID contracted companies in Afghanistan. And so there were some threats because Taliban were already strengthened and revived in the rural areas of the country, which is another story, how they were revived and resurrected and strengthened, which is a political discussion.
Yes. So now the Taliban has more of a foothold in communities and they're kind of regaining some strength.
Yes, and that became a threat to those working with the international community, but especially with Americans, because Americans were that they wanted to defeat.
Yes.
So then a few years before that, the US government had already started a process called special immigrant visas for those who had worked with them and were in danger. And so 2014 was the year when I had a few occasions of feeling threatened. 2 of them were serious. So then I was convinced that I needed to apply to that special immigrant visa. So if anything happens, I have the opportunity to seek asylum here. And then from 2014, it took me all the way to 2017 until the paperwork was processed and we got our visas and we came to the US 2017. But then in 2017, when we came, because still there was hope in the country, my husband and I, we decided that until we don't face a serious danger, we will go back and forth. We will not choose to live full-time here in the US. So we continued our work. And 2017 was the year when I got the permission to change name of the organization that we had established to Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And more than any other time, I felt responsible to go back and build that organization institutionally and prove it to the whole country that if women are stepping up to establish something, they do it. They're serious about it.
Yeah.
I didn't want anyone to say, "Oh, women cannot do it," and which is easy. This is what people would say, regardless of the circumstances that you're in. So I sacrificed everything, went back, sacrificed to come and establish a good life here, right? In 2017.
Yes.
Went back, continued working until 2020. In 2020, during the COVID, it was February 2020 when the US signed an agreement with the Taliban in Qatar. And Taliban had to do also peace negotiations with our government. But for them, in order to build their leverage, they started target killing on daily basis. So on daily basis, in 2020, especially from March and April onward, after when the US signed a peace deal with the Taliban, for Taliban to pressure our government, this was their tactic. So when the target killing increased, this was the time when my family suggested that I should now move full time to the US. And this is how I moved full time. But I should mention, Amanda, that I was still determined to continue the work of our Women's Chamber of Commerce and continue working for Afghanistan. And so COVID had trained all of us to work virtually and from distance and no problem where you are. So I did continue running the organization from the US and did travel 2 more times before the Taliban's takeover in August 2021.
So today, how do you feel like you carry Afghanistan? I'm sure it's in you. How do you feel about the country when you think about it? And how do you bring it with you into your regular daily life?
It's in me. And on daily basis, I'm still working for it. I work through the Peace Through Business program. I work through my own nonprofit with women-owned businesses. When we started talking about October's trips and conferences, all of those were about Afghanistan. Wherever I go, I speak about Afghanistan. And talking about Afghanistan and our experience of 2002 to 2021, it gives me both joy, but also it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart because the people that I knew and the people that I worked with, the provinces that I traveled to, the rural areas and cities, those people did not deserve this.
Yeah.
They did not deserve for a group like Taliban to come and rule them.
Yeah.
They did not deserve such abandonment of the international community, though they are still providing humanitarian aid and all those kind of things. But I mean, the way the Taliban were brought in our country, that was not a correct diplomatic way of conflict resolution and peace building and a reconciliation process.
Yeah.
That was helping a terrorist group to regain full power in the country that had 20 years of democracy,
Wow.
development, women's rights,
Yes.
girls' rights, and youth and institutional building, and had become part of the world for everything. Our both male and female youth were part of Olympics. Our businesses became part of the world's businesses. And I personally had attended a World's Chambers Congress in Brazil and had shared our story of Women's Chamber of Commerce. I mean, all what I can say, I mean, that country had reached a different level.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to this level where an extremist terrorist group would come and stop everything, especially for women and for youth. I mean, everyone, both girls and boys, is heartbreaking. Stopping girls from 7th grade onward. I mean, girls are only allowed up to 6th grade to go to school in that country. When I think about those girls who were in 7th grade that year, which was when 4 years ago, it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
I cannot think about how they feel because they didn't know that this is going to happen to them, right? They had built the same dreams and hopes as I did at one point, right? In 2002, when I came back, and many of us, for them, they wanted to graduate and become doctors, engineers, IT technicians, business owners, government employees, and all kinds of things that they saw that women and girls were able to do in the country for 20 years. Parliament members, ministers, deputy ministers, sports and media and everything. So now for the last 4 years, all those dreams are shut down.
Wow.
The girl, imagine about those who were in their 12th grade and were about to graduate in a few months when Taliban took over.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
They're stuck there. For them, the time has stopped.
Yeah.
They're stuck there. We have continued, right?
Yes.
All of us in other parts of the world.
Yes.
Oh, when I talk about them, it breaks my heart. And as I said, on daily basis, I'm still with them, with Afghanistan,
Yes.
working on projects, on initiatives, and working with various other groups who are doing all kinds of work in education sector, in higher education sector, online, in business sector, and civil society, media, human rights, women's rights, humanitarian aid. I mean, humanitarian aid in itself is something that breaks our heart. We were talking about economic development in that country and self-reliance and all, dignified earning for each citizen of that country. But what's happening today? 28 million, according to the UN's data, 28 plus million people are dependent on humanitarian aid. And what's humanitarian aid? They have to stand in lines and get a sack of flour, rice, and oil, and a few beans, and all. And that's what they have to live their month on. And again, the next month, they have to go back and wait for that, for them and for their children. That's how, another level of damaging a country's citizens' dignity.
Right.
So now what would you expect when or if this group is gone? And when we go back to redo everything, how long will it take us to help these people recover?
Right. Because the damage, the trauma, that's deep-seated and it's generational, and it's really deeply destructive on level after level.
Yes.
So what do you miss most about Afghanistan?
I miss sitting with my women.
Yeah.
I miss seeing their businesses. I miss going to the provinces, working with them in person, feeling them. And everything about that. That land is about its people, right? It's never about the physical land, but the people.
Yeah. What is lighting you up today? Where do you find joy? This is heavy. This is deep. It's a life of, I hate to use the word ups and downs because it just seems too little to describe, what you yourself have experienced. So here you are today. What brings you joy?
But still, working with women in the country gives me joy, and changing one woman's life at a time gives me joy. I mean, there was one point when I wasn't settling for thousands. I was like, we have to work with masses and change masses, this life. But now, I have no choice but to settle to one woman at a time and go slowly with them in their pace as they can. It's not anymore my pace as it was 4 years ago. When I was carrying them, I was like, yeah, we have to be fast and get these things on and expand businesses and do this and create jobs and all. But now with the current situation, the humanitarian crisis, the economic crisis, and what they all have to experience within their families, with their daughters, who have been banned from education, higher education and all, we have to work with them in their pace as they go one day at a time.
So, who would you say, or what has been your greatest teacher along the way?
Yes, I would say first my both parents. My mother, who is fast working, and she was a doctor, and she was having all of us, and she was having this great relationship with the neighbors, and would throw dinner parties, host them, and multitask, as I said, from from early morning until the evening, and would always keep that positive spirit. And same my father. And from my father, I also learned generosity. And if you can give generously and without expecting,
Yeah.
that's what is more meaningful.
Yeah.
And never expect. When you give, just give it and don't expect.
Yeah.
And from my father, I got a book in 2002 when we just had returned, and I had just started my first job, which was not easy, being a high school girl, just graduated in that young age, 15, 16, and going to work for an international organization, because I had learned English and computer before coming to Afghanistan in Pakistan.
Wow.
So when they said they were hiring young Afghans who knew English and computer, then I took permission from my father, because he was like, "No, you're going to university." I was like, "Okay, I will do my university as well, but let me go and take this job." So I took a job, and then it was not easy for me to really be in that work environment, right, with all the expectations and the new tasks that I didn't know how to do and was learning on daily basis. He gave me a book of Dale Carnegie.
Oh, right.
Nobody
Who knew how
expected.
global that was?
Yes, I know. When I tell my friends here in the US, they don't expect who I'm talking about. Dale Carnegie. It was a book of his that was actually compiled from various of his books, and this was called um, the Secret of Success. Yes, and it was translated into Farsi by some Iranians. So I did read that book several times, actually. When I went through it the first 2 weeks, all the book, and then I was like, wow. Then I again read it, and then I had my pencil. I still have the book, by the way. I still
What
have
was
it
it
here.
that kind of hit you about it?
Oh, a lot of things. A lot of things. First of all, the love and respect of yourself. It said that if you want for people outside to respect you and love you, and for you as well to reflect and love and respect people, you have to start it with yourself. If you don't love and respect yourself, and when you go out, you will project that, right? And then
Yeah.
that projection would be also dislove and disrespect to others, but then also you will then get it back from others.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there were stories that he had shared in the book, that how he was treating even the janitors, for example, knowing them by name and greeting them and being kind to them, right? Yeah, there were many things. I'm petite and short, and so that was something that was not acceptable. I wouldn't accept it until I read that book, and it was early on. I mean, I was still a teenager, just started a job. Even that early, I had not accepted myself, Amanda.
Those messages are so universal. As you look ahead, what are your hopes for yourself and for women globally?
For me, my hope is that I continue growing, learning. There are a lot on my list to learn and to explore about this world, and how, if I have that ability and opportunity to change others' lives and help others to live a better life, how can I do that in a more better way and more effective and efficient way? That's what I do on daily basis, and I hope that I would become best at it. And for women, I really hope that they get the opportunity to live a life feeling human.
Yeah.
And not women. Why not women? Because women in all of our societies is unfortunately considered a second-class citizen. And so for them to feel human, it must be different. For some of us who have had the opportunity to feel human, right? It
Yeah.
has been different, right? Look what we have been
Yes.
able to do, what kind of life we have been able to live with our families, with our partners, with our children, and within the society. I want them to experience this. I want them to have that trust in them, that ability to dream of becoming anything and doing anything in their life, having that freedom and all.
I want that too. That's a beautiful dream.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Manizha, for coming on the podcast, for sharing your story with such honesty and with such dignity and with such grace, for helping us to understand, our shared humanity. You're bringing a message of strength and finding power within, and also owning and honoring our collective power. So
Yes.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. It was great to talk to you, Amanda, and thank you for the opportunity that I could share this story with others through your podcast. Thank you.
My pleasure, my privilege. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Thank you for being a valued part of the Soulful community. Thank you to William Aronson for writing, recording, and producing the Soulful Connections theme song. And finally, always know you're not alone. We are connected. We're all in this thing together, and you and your story are important. Let's just keep on connecting.